Yay, if it's gone. If we're live here, live,
Hi.
hi everybody. So Mercury just went retrograde like 4 minutes ago?
Eight.
8 minutes ago. So hey, welcome everybody. We were wondering if we were gonna like get here on time. But here we are. Thank you, Mercury. Um,
Good morning.
so hey Linda, good morning. Yeah, let's just sit here for a minute, just say hello, tell me where you're coming in from, and tell me if you've gotten your cheat sheet. It is not too late. We're gonna just pause here for about a minute and just welcome people in, wait till we get some more people logging on because it's Mercury retrograde, as we know. Um, don't forget that this month is a 3-page cheat sheet, and Susan and I have started this in January, a month ago, and we're giving you, whenever there's a transit going on that we talk about in our constellation or in our cosmic trends here on our Chatting with the Stars. And it's so hard sometimes to write into back up and get the date. So we've decided, Alex kind of made us kind of, right?
All
And
of the
here it
above.
is. So you can go, there's a link somewhere, go to that, and it's $10, but it has areas for you to write notes because we add on in this hour.
And what
So
would be really cool to use the cheat sheet, not just to take notes while you're listening to us or to refer to it later, but use it as a way to keep a diary of what happens in your life or in the world on those transits. So you get a feel for how astrology works in real life. And so you start to feel how those planets and transits actually appear, and they do when you pay attention. So that is my suggestion for the day, is to use it regularly.
yeah, and put it somewhere that you can see it. It's actually pretty. You can color it too. Anyway, here and we're starting to arrive. Elaine's here, Corey's here, Sherry, Julie, Molly, Linda, and some have their cheat sheet. Yay, yay, yay. And so we're gonna start now. And
Yep.
we
Off we go.
welcome that I'm Sandy Reeve with Intention Beads and Susan Gidel.
Yeah, I'm Susan Gidel, financial astrologer here in Chicago. Sandy's across town in Evanston. We're waiting for the big snow this afternoon.
And we welcome you to the February outlook of 2021. Um, it's a big one. It's a short month, but it's a big one. And
Yeah.
it starts out, it starts out our kind of our biggest theme, difficulty of the year, that lasts from this December date. We'll show, or excuse me, this February date. Actually, it's February 17th, and we actually have a chart for it. We're going to start putting charts in, one chart every month to kind of show you what we're talking about in chart form, and which is the real astrology form. And this situation lasts all the way until like December 24th. So it is the year-long rub, if you will, the grind of trying to establish new order. And that sounds, it's easy to say, it's not easy to do.
So, but we'll start with today. And even though it's not February,
Can we just throw some early things out about little as we get, because I know you have something to offer.
Oh yeah. As we get into it more, Alex has a link that I'm sure she can put up somewhere to sign up for my list about staying in touch with anything I have to say about the new air economy that started officially last December at the winter solstice, where we're moving into a 200-year period where things of air will be important to the markets and to all of us in terms of the kind of work we do and the kind of companies that we want to be associated with. So Right now I'm building a list. I have plans to write a book on this topic, and this list will make sure that you know when that happens. And just for signing up, I am happy to provide to you a download list of stocks in the NASDAQ 100, as well as a few commodity markets and cryptocurrencies, sorted by sun sign. So when you're looking for markets that you might be particularly aligned with, start with the sun and see if any of those appeal to you. So thanks and good luck, and we'll be in touch.
That's cool. Thank you. And what I've got going on is the Spring Equinox Constellation Bracelet and Workshop. This is big. It is working with me along with a small group of 8 and less in 12 different transits where we get together for a 1-hour Zoom call. You get a booklet. I'm making a bead. It's a talisman transit. So I'm making a bead for you during each one of our 12 meetings. And it is aligned to your chart. So you get this really beautiful booklet Alex puts together with this information we're going after. And I might mention at least in as we go through February, some of the dates that we're using to get this talisman energy. And the idea is you're going to get a whole bracelet because we make one bead each time we get together, and you get this bracelet at the end of this 6 weeks. And it starts February 12th and ends always on the full moon, or excuse me, always on the new moon, starts February 12th. And we end on the full moon, March 28th. All right. So that link's somewhere here. So I have some spaces open. So sign up soon because we got to get an hour, additional hour bonus call in before we begin in about 2 weeks. All right. Let's get to February.
We can't talk about Mercury retrograde today?
Yeah, let's start that, because that's pretty much Mercury's retrograde for 3 weeks. So
yeah, through most of February.
Yeah.
It stays retrograde. Mercury went retrograde at 15 minutes ago at 9:52 a.m. in Chicago, and stays retrograde through the 20th of February. So really, it's a highlight of February as well. So regular things about Mercury retrograde, just plan more time to do whatever you need to do. Don't get wigged out if details change along the way. Things happen during Mercury retrograde. If you're trading, be sure to double check online orders in particular, to beware of fat finger mistakes. You meant to buy one, but you hit 12 or 11, and all of a sudden you're like, what did I do?
Yeah, this entire year, Mercury will be retrograde in the air signs, all of them. It's called the air trigon. And so, here we are and Mercury won't be changing from one sign backwards into the next sign. It will be retrograde in the entirety in, here we are in Aquarius, then we go into the next air sign, which is Gemini, and then we go toward the latter part of the year in Libra. So, yeah, it's certainly a kind of a stimulating time to get the mind working on Aquarian things, which is about things around the community. But, it's the retrograde period. So, we always talk about the RE, the rewrite, rest, retreat. But, we can all, it just means double check.
Yeah.
Double check. That's
double
all.
check.
Double check. All right. Let's start right away. Monday, boom, February 1st. We get what is considered, well, this happens twice a year. This is the sun is square to Mars. This happens at 4:34 in the morning. It's a standoff. It's like it's a square. So there's a rubbing of, they're rubbing each other the wrong way. Sun, is this ego and personality, and Mars is the action. And they're both very powerful, forceful. So it's like they're like, picture fighting for attention when nobody else cares except these two. So it's almost like, the sun wins too, because it's got a superior overcoming square. So the sun's in charge, even though the sun is in detriment here. So it's a standoff.
Yeah. And actually, they're both in detriment. The sun and Mars both are not in their best sign. Where an in detriment means that there's scrutiny. They both are kind of looking over their shoulder, seeing who is going to come up and say, hello, who do you think you are? And so even though fighting, they're fighting with this one eye over the shoulder, wondering who's going to come along and mess it up. So there's some hesitation even about how they move forward in their argument.
Yeah. Well, because neither one of them are strong.
Right.
Neither one of them are strong, except moon or the sun is, it's the superior square.
Yeah.
That's why. And then a little bit later, just kind of when you're brushing your teeth, maybe that morning at 8:05, the Venus moves into the next sign, her next sign, which is Aquarius. So she moves from a earth period into an air period. So it's really kind of uplifting, and really, I call it, now it's a party, because Venus now joins the group of the other planets, Mercury in Aquarius, the sun in Aquarius, Jupiter in Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius. And she becomes the fifth person at the party. And actually, probably everybody's been waiting for her, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They've been waiting for the social being, the beauty, to show up to make the party. So it's more social. It's in unusual ways. So to be part of a group, while you're experiencing individuality, it's and she stays here till February 25.
And my notes on the cheat sheet are with Venus in Aquarius to hang out with your gay friends, color your hair purple, and spend money on astrology. Everything weird you've ever wanted to do, you go.
Yeah, you could sign up for this Constellation Bracelet Workshop.
You could.
And then we go into Saturday the 6th, and this is Venus conjunct Saturn. And this is what I call the beautiful no. It's kind of like getting serious around a matter that's really important to you. It's about, building new responsibilities. I mean, it's a conjunction. Venus, the planet of relationships, meets up with the planet of reality check. And it really is about having a serious conversation, just about how can we do things new? Is there anything new on our list that we can commit to or remove from the old list and add to the new list? Mm-hmm. So, and I call it the beautiful no, because sometimes it might be a no because it's not the right time or it's not done yet. So we have to look at those no's sometimes as welcoming.
Mm-hmm. And from a financial perspective, Venus conjunct Saturn can be that you find a long-term financial partner or make a long-term financial decision. Now, remember, Mercury's retrograde, so you might have to reconsider it after it goes direct. But you could identify an investment or a helper in your finances that could stay for a long time.
And so, Susan, there's a quick question here which relates to that. Is this not the best time with Mercury retrograde to begin getting into trading?
I agree. It is not the best time to get into trading. In fact, I opened my first futures trading account a couple years ago. And what I found personally is that I didn't do well at all trading while Mercury was retrograde. And so one of my rules now is to not trade at all while Mercury's retrograde. I just take 3 weeks off. But no, I would not begin trading now, but you certainly could do research on who to have an account with or what markets you might be interested in. I just wouldn't take any trading action. Well, up to you, but I wouldn't.
All right, good answer. And then we move on. We're still on Saturday the 6th, and kind of immediately, and this is like a kind of like a two separate, but they blend together, is that Venus is square now to the Uranus. And this is, I titled it, "This is worth budging." Because are you feeling pushed? Are you needing to ask more questions around, why, how, when? Maybe you should turn around and turn around to this irritating probing that you're getting, because it could surprise you. It's almost like a change up. It's like saying, hey, let's change things up. And you're like, okay, let's try it. So go ahead.
And once again, from a financial perspective, Venus, the planet that rules money, square Uranus, which right now is in Taurus, ruled by Venus. So Uranus is about making, Uranus and Taurus overall has been about making financial changes. So Venus square Uranus has some challenges in terms of financing, income, money generally.
Okay, yeah. So, it's an interesting day, that Saturday the 6th, because these two things happen pretty close to one another. One says, hey, a reality check. The next one says, let's change up. So,
and I see a quick question about whether it's a good time to get into cryptocurrencies with Venus entering Aquarius. It's probably, it's yes and no. Yes, Venus is in Aquarius, but only for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe. Yeah. But the bigger picture about the cryptos is the air economy that started last December. And, you've got 200 years for that. And, and Bitcoin's certainly been on a tear. But it's just coming through Sun, Aquarius conjunctions to its Jupiter and Mercury. So I think there's been some difficulties there as those planets move away from its natal Jupiter, Mercury.
Yeah, and Venus is here till February 25th, and Mercury stations to go direct on the 20th. So I wonder if that means that there's a little peace, although Mercury will still be in its shadow, but will no longer be retrograde. So I don't know if there's that 5-day period that something could happen, that one could do something. Anyway, I'm not a financial astrologer. All right, let's move on to the next week, which is we start Monday, February 8th with the Cazimi. This is Mercury retrograde, Cazimi the sun. This happens every time we get any planet moving into the heart of the sun, is called Cazimi. This happens at 7:48 a.m. and it's an awakening. It's the moon here is in a balsamic moon phase. So it gives me this idea not only of mental clarity or purity, it gives me this idea of letting go, because the moon's in this balsamic moon phase, like clearing up the unwanted, just clearing it up. It's great for the mind, and it means that Mercury is halfway through his retrograde cycle right here on the 8th.
And I can only ditto that. I love the Cazimi periods for insights, ahas, clarities. And I was just looking at my other calendar here for a note. Actually, in terms of cryptos, it's interesting that the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is launching on Sunday, February 7 at 5 o'clock Chicago time, a new futures contract on Ethereum. And so its first trade date will be Monday, February 8th. And this is pending regulatory approval, but it probably will happen. So yes, new things about cryptos are happening during this period. And there you have it.
Okay, let's move to Wednesday, the 10th. We have Mercury retrograde in a square to Mars. Okay, take a break. Don't rush through things. Things need to settle and to unwind. It's a very unsettling day. Watch what comes up around you, because if Mercury is the planet of communication that's in its redo period, and it's squaring, having conflict and stress with Mars, that there seems to be some sort of I'm thinking and I'm angry, or I'm thinking and I want to be assertive. And so now I might talk and I might say something in a reactive form and not a progressive form. So be careful of what's going on around you so that you don't just suddenly react or say, be nasty to someone.
Mhm.
Well, that doesn't get anywhere.
No, but if you have to be, use the Aquarius to be creative about how you do it. You can find a unique way to get your message across if you need to. And I will add to this day that with the moon, where's the moon there? It must be in Aquarius. Yes, the moon has just moved into Aquarius on Tuesday night. So now there's 6 planets in Aquarius, and there's one more planet in Capricorn, Pluto. So 7 out of 10 planets are in signs ruled by Saturn and known for, and Saturn is about being cold. So here we are in February. So it could be very extra cold, February 10 through 10 and 11, because all those planets, 7 planets, are in signs that are cold.
Yeah, which is quite unusual. Kelly Surtees, one of my mentors, reminded us that it was about every 60 years that you get that many planets in the Aquarian period. So I found that really interesting. So we were just babies,
Yeah.
you and I.
Yeah.
All right.
And also February 10, Sandy and I are working on a webinar, 5:30 p.m. Central, about Saturn, the Saturn-Uranus square, which happens a week later and is the big transit for the year. And then, of course, we have our Chatting with the Stars readings that evening from 7:30 to 9:30. And I'm sure Alex has links for all of that somewhere.
I'm sure. So then now let's pop into Thursday, the 11th. Well, I didn't until I saw your notes, that we share back and forth. It's both of our favorite days.
Our favorite day.
And that doesn't happen very often, that we both choose the same day of the month. Susan and I do that, our favorite days of the month, and it's this. And it's the Venus conjoins with Jupiter, and they're both direct. This is the 2 benefics, the greater benefic of Jupiter and the lesser benefic of Venus meet up. And it's interesting because Venus retrograded in 2020, that they did not meet up in 2020. They haven't been together since 2019. So, they're together again to set new visions for love and for growth and for prosperity and for all joyful, kind of like whoever wants into this, pop into this party, because they haven't been together in a while. So,
so it's in a new moon.
And it's the new moon day.
Yeah, it's the new moon.
Yeah.
So you get Venus and Jupiter together, which is like one of the very top transits you like to see for making big money, is when Venus is conjunct Jupiter in any way, shape, or form. And for it to happen on a new moon day, even with Mercury retrograde, a great day to set intention about how to tap into that kind of prosperity mentality, actions that you think will pay off big in the end.
Yeah. And let's get right to the new moon at 23 degrees of Aquarius. This happens at 1:06 p.m. This is Chicago time. And, looking at this chart, this, the whole pile up, having a new moon in Aquarius, but immediately the moon goes void of course.
Mhm.
I found that really interesting. And so, you're going to use words like, pioneering, scientific, brotherhood, progressive, inventive. Um, just, as Susan was saying, if you're looking at she was looking at all of the 10 planets, but if we got to just say 7 planets, the traditional planets, it's just as impressive, Susan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because Mars is the only guy that's kind of out of the range of the whole Aquarian period. And Mars is doing what? Squaring all of
All of
them.
them.
So Mars is trying to be really strong here in his detriment, going, I disagree. And Mars really can try to put up a fight, but
Way outnumbered.
it's not going to win.
Yeah.
And so we might be seeing this in the news. You may want to watch that. But I really like this new moon because of the gravity of the non-gravity, right? There's so much in there, so many heavy, and the beautiful planets too: Sun, Moon, Venus, Jupiter,
Mhm.
Saturn.
Saturn and its rulership.
And yeah, and Saturn's ruling all of them because
Yeah.
Saturn rules Aquarius. So really, really interesting new moon. In fact, it's the next day, on Friday the 12th, that we begin our constellation bracelet and workshop. Because I'm waiting for the moon to move into the next sign of Pisces, but it's still this great new energy of starting something new. All right,
Okay, so my notes here at Sandy say it's the Lunar New Year,
yeah.
year of the ox, on Friday the 12th, and second of the 12-year symbols. You have a great story, so ask me.
So good. Okay. So, there's 12 of these animal symbols that are for the Chinese New Year. And it's like, and there's a story about how they got put in their priority, first, second, third, all the way down to the 12th. And the story is, because the rat is the first year.
Is that first?
The ox, which is what we're in now, is the second year. And so the story is that the mouse jumps on the ox's back for everyone to move toward this, like walking into the door. Whoever was in first got the first place. And as they're walking into the door, the mouse jumps off the ox's back and made it in first. That's how it got to be rat and then ox. And really, it's about having an honest nature. This is, again, this whole year, it always goes with the lunar cycle. Diligent, dependability, strength, and determination. So again, it's a 12-year lunar cycle. So if you're 24 years old this year, if you're going to be 36, if you're 48, 60, 72, you are considered the ox. So, really interesting. Thanks, Stuart. You read the same story the other day, because it's just interesting. I love mythology, although that's not mythology, but yeah, I like it. And we begin the constellation on that day. Yeah. So let's pop to Saturday the 13th.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and my note on the 12th is simply to order your king cake for Mardi Gras the following Tuesday, the 16th.
Right. They are. So Saturday the 13th, now we're still with the Mercury retrograde, conjoins Venus. I love these. It's like, what could they possibly be talking about? Right? It's like they're discussing possibilities. If Mercury is the messenger, right? Is he slipping a note to Venus, out of his little carrot, or a sheep giving him one to take on his travel? So it really makes me wonder, kind of like what is being passed. But I can assure you, it's really something about that pioneering, those new ideas, these new information about re-looking at something that has come up in the past that needs to be kind of resolved. But Venus is saying, hey, do it this way. It's much easier when you do it with peace, love, tranquility, right? I want to talk about one last thing. I don't know if this is important. I may talk about this on my podcast. Never mind. We'll move on.
Okay. Well, and to me, the Mercury conjunct Venus in Aquarius, Mercury retrograde conjunct Venus in Aquarius, the day before Valentine's Day, um, says that it gives you the opportunity to um, reach out to your Valentine in unusual ways, um, express maybe a message you haven't expressed for a while because Mercury is retrograde. But don't go so far as to pull out an old Valentine's card and reuse it. That would be bad.
Especially if it was from your old Valentine, like a former Valentine. Yeah, don't talk about those other people, right? Um, and then a little bit later in that evening, we have Mars in a sextile to Neptune. So this is about a soft expression. And, maybe because it is a Saturday and it is the Valentine Day Eve, as you mentioned, this really is about taking a deep breath, relaxing and chilling out.
Mhm.
So it could be, I love that you wrote here on yours, an unusual expression of love, old time. And maybe it's listening to, Marvin Gaye, right?
There you go.
Getting the turntable out and the little, the what do you call those? The discs, the records, the albums, there's a word for it. I forget. The vinyl, and doing some old time, and stay in the house, make a beautiful old fashioned dinner. I get that kind of.
That bottle of wine, where you used to, that has the big bowl thing with the um, brown stuff on the bottom, and you drank it, and then you put the candle in. What was that? That was like cool.
The Chianti.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. And the drippy candles. I love drippy candles. I wish I could show you mine on my candelabra right there. Okay, so that's that. We wake up Sunday, the 14th, and we have Mercury conjunct Jupiter. So this is kind of like this readjustment of something you can do. It kind of says, with I wrote here, readjust, but not without a mea culpa. Now that means was born and became Catholic. The mea culpa was, I am sorry, please forgive me. And so there's kind of like this expression of reaching out to maybe if there is an apology of some sort, or a forgiveness of some sort.
Mm-hmm. And for me, the Mercury conjunct Jupiter just makes whatever communications you're doing bigger, more. So, like, go over the top with Valentine's Day in terms of what you say and who you say it to. I think that would be cool. And I'll just add for the 13th, the Mars sextile Neptune. It's a sextile, so it's helpful, and you kind of have to, it doesn't hit you over the head. But Mars and Neptune are associated with being vulnerable to weaker immune systems. So in this era of COVID, just be particularly careful maybe that weekend about exposure.
Great, Susan. Just as we're celebrating Valentine's Day with people, or with that one person, right?
Well, hopefully you're already living with that person, and so it's not a big
deal. And which equals, do something old fashioned, right? Yep. Like put on that turntable. And if we go back to or continue on to the 14th, that Sunday, I do write in my notes here that you can set anything into motion for a 2.5 week period. So it's about trying to do something new. Again, that's this whole theme of this air economy. So for 200 years, it's about doing something new. We see it. We see this progressive movement everywhere we turn, and it's like we can make a 360-degree movement of a circle and just see new everywhere we go. So, it's starting out, boom, really strong, but with a struggle here as we get into this next day, which is Wednesday, the 17th. Now, this is the beginning. And let me just say, we're going to feel this on a week on either side, right? Now, this is the first of 3 transits because Saturn and Uranus will both go retrograde in the square. So if they're like, say, here's Saturn and here's Uranus, which is true because Saturn's making the overcoming square. So they'll be square, and then they'll start moving, and then they'll start moving back and forth. And finally, it'll take till the end of the year, December, to start moving and not be in an aspect of a square. Remember, squares are frustrating, they're tough, they're stressful.
And, the Saturn square Uranus, like we said, on February 17 is the big transit for the year. And it's big because the Saturn Uranus cycle is 45 years long. And so this is, they were last conjunct in 1988. And so this is the waning square of that cycle. And so they aren't conjunct again. So we're in the last 25% of the Saturn Uranus cycle that will end when the next one begins in 2032. And I'm really interested in watching this. The Saturn Uranus cycle is connected with the markets. And this last 25%, this starting with this last square, is kind of difficult. It's not an easy time to get through financially.
Yeah.
Is why I'm interested in, helping people understand it better so we can all get through the next 11 years intact.
Yeah, we're going to screen share here in a second, because I think once we screen share, Alex, we're going to have to talk about it immediately. This is actually another time when we're getting together for the Constellation Bracelet Workshop. However, I'm going to throw a surprise in here because of this. This will be a major topic, and I don't want anybody to people need to understand this. Everybody needs to understand this, like Susan said, because it's considered my astro interesting day of the month and my conflict day of the month. So never have I given one aspect the combo of
Really?
interesting and conflicting. Because Saturn is the reality check, and it confronts in a difficult position Uranus, which is the liberation of change. So they both are in fixed signs. They're not retrograde here. But it's like, are you focused on the right path? Things may come in suddenly and let you know that, I wasn't expecting that. If you are on the right path, stay steady, my friend. Stay steady, but not without, I get chills here. In fact, I want to cry for some reason right now. Go ahead, maybe share screen, Alex. I feel like crying.
And still, Saturn is in Aquarius, so it's in its ruling sign, so has the upper hand technically in this square. And it's just darn difficult. I mean, we don't see these come around very often, clearly, every 12 years.
Alex, can you point, we're doing the Saturn in the 9th house. Saturn in 9th house is squaring the Uranus in the 11th house. And look at the moon sitting there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on February 17th at just around noon. The moon pops in there. Very kind of volatile period right here because of the moon. Mm-hmm. Even though the moon is actually the strongest one here. So very emotional, interesting, right? I'm got very emotional there too.
Yeah.
So there's two ideas here. Because Saturn's order and Uranus says, change. So there's a difficulty. There's also could be this refusal. Saturn says, I refuse to liberate. So Saturn can also say, I'm going to delay it. So just as you think that there's change coming, it's like, oh, no, sorry, hold on. So, like we said, you're going to really know what the theme is of this by the time we get to this, and remember, it's also that week before the 17th, so the 10th, mm-hmm. and the week after. Now that stays in operation till December 24th, and we'll get two more passes of this that we'll talk about in our on our Facebook things here. but just really interesting for what's going on in the world, in our nation right now. This is part of it.
Indeed. And once again, we'll do a deeper dive into Saturn square Uranus in our February 10 webinar.
Yeah, this is what the webinar is all about. So I don't even know if it's up on our website yet, but keep a lookout for that. And it's what, $25. It's really worth it. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's move on to this. Thursday the 18th, the sun moves into Pisces.
You're so excited whenever that happens.
I know, it's like, happy birthday, dreamers. That's me, that's you, Alex. Yeah, the sun prefers this sign above the Aquarian sign, because that's where, the sun was in detriment. And so this is about cleansing in your nakedness now. And I don't know why that sounds kind of sexy to me. And, so many things about my life and my verbiage have to be sexy. So that's probably why, because it's about picking up some creative healing vibes, about cleansing your body, your mind, your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So after this whole week, it's about like going in, and you got to find your space, right? Because it's a big difference to go from the sun, from a air fixed into a water mutable, where things just flow, right?
Mm-hmm. And I see my note here is to take a nap and recover from Aries activity, but it's really Aquarius activity. So sorry if we didn't catch that.
No, we caught it.
You caught it? Okay, thank you. But still, take a nap. It's in Pisces. And do all those,
Bathtub
things that Sandy likes to do.
Those bathtub things.
Yeah.
Wait, can I just make this crazy? Who has wall-to-wall carpet in their bathrooms?
Ooh.
I did it. So I've got a chair in there now. I have a beautiful bathroom, but I had to have wall-to-wall carpet on my bathroom floor. I live by myself. What is all that about? Ew, not ew. Anyway, so that's where I'll be spending a lot of that.
Just put in radiant heat.
This was easier. Friday, February 19th, we have the Venus now is squaring Mars. Just agree to disagree. This is one of those days where you can be at odds with somebody, particularly somebody you may love. So watch your action, make sure that you're fighting the same battle, right? And then wait to agree on a solution in a couple days from then.
Yeah, after Mercury goes direct again. And the arguments could be about money because, Venus is there on both sides, actively participating and also ruling Mars's current sign of Taurus. So money discussions.
Budget discussions, right?
Budget
Discussions.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to do this and the money wants to go there. So just agree to agree to disagree, little kiss, and we'll talk about this in a couple days. Mm-hmm. There isn't something you have to do immediately. It may feel like it, but you don't.
But it's not. No.
Saturday the 20th. Mercury stations direct at 11 degrees of Aquarius. And so what have you learned? What have you learned? Go ahead and keep on your chosen path, because if it is realigned in that 3-week period, you will know it. Mm-hmm. You'll see it. You'll understand it. It'll make sense. You already had the Kazemi period of the purity and the kind of clarifying questions that got kind of weeded out. So you weeded out the garden of thought, and here it's like, okay, go ahead. Now water what you weeded out or what you planted.
Yeah. And pick it up again, look, keep good notes over the last 3 weeks. I'm a real note taker. And go over them and say, okay, well, what really happened then that's important that I can move forward with now. And the really best part to me about Mercury turning direct on February 20th is that it means that all the planets are direct in motion through April 26. So we've got February 20, March 21 month, April 20, 2 months plus a week. So we got a full 2 months where every planet is direct. And we'll talk about it more in other times, but know that March and April this year are really great times to get things rolling.
I've got my, yeah,
nothing's retrograde.
and I've got my eye on May, June, and July. When, and just a real quick heads up, when the planet Jupiter moves into its home sign of Pisces, just for a little big, that'll be one of our webinars. So stay tuned for that. You will want, I mean, we're only doing webinars, if you've noticed, about every other month now, and just hitting some of the bigger things to talk about. I guess it's because our schedule is getting so busy. It takes a hot minute to put all of this together for these webinars. But you're not going to want to miss that. But you're right, like direct planets for that long.
Yeah.
First of all planets go retrograde except for the sun and the moon. They never go backwards. However, some stayed retrograde for 6 months. Mercury, so it's really nice to have this period of like forward movement, if you will, right? Okay, let's go to Wednesday, the 24th. And we've got the Mars in a trine. Have we used that word yet? I don't think we've said
no, I don't think so
yet. Well, because, check that out. Because all the planets are really basically in this Aquarian, bucket, the only other really traditional planet is Mars is the square. So maybe, we'll get the moon going out around there and creating a trine and another trine. And that's why this trine is one of the outer planets. It's the Mars trine Pluto. And so I've called it engage all systems. These are two power forces. They're both the rulers of Scorpio, right? Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. They are in a trine, remember, a slide power force of getting along. And so how are you getting along during this period? This kind of happened in August of 2020, and it happened again December 23rd of 2020. And that's the kind of the 4 months that we were trying to resolve issues of trying to keep our power intact. And so check out this. This is the third of 3 passes. So check out that, make sure your power source is on full charge. It should be. And I want to say one more thing, but then I forgot. Oh, this is another one of those times for our talisman time for our constellation bracelet workshop. We'll be getting together on this day. It happens to be at 10:31 p.m. All my times, all my days for my constellation, like talisman times, anybody that knows that. There are throughout the day, this grouping of the 6-week period, there are no midnights. There are no, like this might be the latest one, 10:30 p.m., depending where you are, maybe midnight. But I think the earliest one is like 6 a.m. So there were a couple times in the last couple of years that there was a 3:03 a.m. So we all had to get up.
So yeah, and I like Mars trine Pluto for that final oomph of, it's actually a great time to take the action about doing the Pluto and Capricorn things. And Pluto and Capricorn wants to transform how you do business. It wants to transform big structures, big business, government, and you can apply that to your own life in how your life is structured. Pluto wants to transform that through starting in 2008 through 2024. And here's an opportunity to, with Mars trine and working well with Pluto, to actually move that forward.
And I want to mention, someone has here, Jody, you asked about, so more stress until December, right? What we were talking about is, yeah, that's a stress period. It's really strong at that time, but there's so many nice things happening the rest of the year in between. So no, it won't be stress the entire time. It's just the biggest aspect of these two planets that are looking at each other. One says, let's do things the right way. The other one says, let's do things the new way, and they're at odds with each other. That's why we talked about that. So yeah, there's a little stress, but there's some really beautiful pieces about this next one that I'm about to talk about. So
well, and here, let me jump in and just say that, and in comparison to 2020, the aspects that we had in 2020, which were conjunctions and big planets, this is just a square and only 2 planets. So in 2020 was way worse in terms of transit stress. So
good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. Being conjunct means like you're super glued to something you don't like, especially if it's a planet you don't like Pluto, or so this is just readjustment. Jody, makes sense. This is just we're in a readjustment period, which will take a long time to readjust. But on Thursday, the 25th, we're coming down. We only have a few more comments to make if Alex is watching our time. Thursday, the 25th, we have Venus moving into her exaltation of Pisces. Yay. And the sun is there. So there's this happy, flowy, this stays till March 22nd. You know, I'm reminded of the ecstatic dance party that we have in Bali, which is really sweaty. It's loud. It's invigorating. And maybe on the podcast, we're going to put Alex doing her ecstatic dancing. I mean, the floor is all wet because everybody's sweating. We're outside. We got a DJ. It's about just feeling the dance, closing your eyes. And Venus, I love her in Pisces.
Yeah, it's Venus in Pisces is really nice. And from a financial perspective, this is when it's a fabulous time to give money away to help others, to raise money to help others. Pisces is the sign of compassion, humanitarianism, and Venus exalted in Pisces wants you to use your finances to do good in the world.
Help your fellow man, woman. Yeah, the close ones, the bullseye, and then all of the rest of the targets, because that all those bubbles interrelate. They really do. It from a Pisces soul to the Pisces period. A little bit later that day, we go into another really nice aspect. The sun moves into a place to sextile Uranus. And this just means tap into the senses, reach into that space beyond that which you don't know or don't see. It reminds me of I got an email the other day from somebody in Germany who said, she was listening to the podcast and she ended up in a bathtub and going underneath the water so she could hear something, but it was mumbled, and she felt like suspended in a space of which she didn't really know. And it reminds me of this, of you can't see it, but you can feel it.
And I'm with you on that. I think that sun sextile Uranus gives you the opportunity to make shifts, the Uranus side of it, based on your intuition, based on how you sense and feel from the sun side of the transit. So a really great time to tune into that and pay attention.
All right, our final day, because this is the 28-day month. The final day is Saturday, the 27th, which, by the way, mark your calendars now. That is when we're doing our March edition. So we'll be here again March 27th, or excuse me, February 27th for March. And this is the full moon. This is the full moon with at 9 degrees of Virgo, and shine the light. This is a very practical, organized part of your life and part of your chart, wherever you have this Virgo placement. It's in a trine to Uranus. I really, really like this full moon.
Mhm. And yeah, so stay tuned. We'll the full moon, who knows what'll happen when we have one of these on a full moon.
Yeah, yeah, the full moon actually is at 2:17 a.m. So we'll have already begun or finished by the time we got together. But full moon, that means if it's full, 9 degrees sun in Pisces. And remember where here comes Venus getting really close to the sun. So we got Venus there that's exalted. Um, with the moon in opposition. So it's going to be really, really, really nice. I like shine the light on all the things that you want to do, get organized, be practical, and feel accomplished.
And Virgo rules health as well. So a good time to shake off the winter stuck insideness and start planning to start getting outside again and taking care of your health. Fun.
Yeah, and maybe, all these vaccinations coming in and everybody, there's more and more and more people that I know that are, have been under the needle, so to speak. Gosh, we're not even racing to the end. Maybe it's because it's a short month.
Short months. And not a lot of transits. We said at the, in our January one, there just aren't as many transits this year as there were last year. But yeah.
And we mentioned the biggest one, the biggest one of the year, which we, for Jody, maybe we just made too big of a deal over it, but that's the biggest, hardest one of the year. So that's maybe why we stayed on it, because some of the other ones with Jupiter moving into Pisces for a period of time, that gives us a little forward glance into 2022. That's going to be a beautiful, which is why I said was my favorite time, the end of May, all of June, and most of July. That's going to be my favorite time. I'll be running a constellation bracelet workshop during that period too. I'll be also running a talisman making workshop on one day during that period. So kind of keep a lookout for that. We're going to go grab some energy to lock in its power to help us through the year and for years and years to come.
Yeah.
Ain't that a good thing, Kathy? Yes. We have 3 minutes here. Susan, what should we do? Take a question?
Sure.
First question in. Seamless job. Okay. So, get your cheat sheet. That's available all through the month. And, it's nicer to have the cheat sheet while you're here in real time, because then you can write on it.
And remember to use it all month. Take little notes about what happened to you, what happened in the world as those transits were going through. So you get a feel for how they work and how the planets work and how the aspects work.
And they're going to be up about 2 weeks before our togetherness on the whatever date we're doing these dates, right? So it's a
February 27 is the next.
So it'll be about 2 weeks before that will be available on the site. So there seems to be no questions. So then I'll just kind of reiterate the constellation bracelet workshop. I didn't do one last year because of all of it was too hard. There wasn't a whole lot of good aspects to pull in for the constellation bracelet workshop, because we are pulling in 12 aspects in a short period of time, in a 6-week period. But here we go. We're starting back up again. Everybody, can you give a little bit more information on the February 17th aspect of the Saturn square Uranus? Which, actually, Stuart, that's why we're running that webinar. It's because Saturn is the planet of reality and reality check and making sure you're doing things the right way. It's the judge, right? It's the conventional way to do things. but Saturn has moved out of the Capricorn, where he wants to do all good things of old. He has moved into his next sign that he rules, which is Aquarius, for the next 2.5 years. And so now he wants to set up, establish structures of new, and Uranus is wanting it as well, but Uranus wants it quicker. And Saturn says, we got to take our time. And Uranus is like, let's do it now. And so that's that. If you wanted to
That's
add
the tension between them. And yes, it's because it's a 45-year cycle. This is the waning square. And so it means it's the last one. The waxing square is the first one, then they go to opposition, then they go to the waning square, and then they come back to conjunction. And so it marks the start of the last 25% of that 45-year cycle. So, question about future contracts on ETH, the Ethereum futures contract. I haven't looked, I don't think I've looked at the chart for that. So I can't say.
And, someone writes, is it a bad time to connect with a new romantic person at this time? No. A, no. B, no. C, go. First of all, going into that, we're moving into the Pisces period. This person may be way different if you meet them in the Aquarius period, right? Maybe way different than what you thought you liked. If you liked tall, dark, and handsome, maybe you like short, light, and intriguing. So pay attention. It might be different than what you want, and don't be upset. Don't try and stay in your lane. Expand the options. And, getting into that, warm bath, hot bath. I know my daughter's watching, but that hot bath, warm bath, and going underwater with a loved one kind of sounds very, romantic. So yes, always good time to get into a relationship with a romantic partner, particularly now. And thanks, Denise. I am wearing my blue because it's the water bearer, right? The Aquarian energy is the water bearer. And it's this really, really beautiful light blue. So I'm going to be, if Marita's here, I'm going to start wearing my clothes in alignment with the theme of the month.
And Linda had a question about not good for the stock market. Yes, absolutely. The research I've done on the Dow, and we'll talk more about that in our webinar, I'm sure. But in general, in the previous 2 cycles, the Dow has behaved very badly in the last 25% of the Saturn-Uranus cycle. But I've been looking for a high in the stock market for the last 1.5 years. And we're still at record highs, or we were last week. But yes, the Saturn-Uranus cycle, the last square, should be putting an end to that. So.
And we really want to kind of say goodbye here.
Yep.
I never like saying, Alex says, oh, Mom, you got to cut it short. And I always, my goodbyes take 10 minutes, but thanks, Marita. I said that for you. You know that. Join our webinar. It's like $25. It's really, we put a lot of work into it. And so join us and then get your chart printed so you can see if this affects you personally, what houses it affect. Well, it will affect you personally. It'll go into 2 of the houses, but will it be hitting any of your natal planets? That's what you'll see, especially if you get a reading on the after side of the webinar with a one-on-one with Susan and I. Anyway,
take care.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Valentine's Day.
Love.
See you later.